Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking this incredibly dense 2026 financial roadmap and, well, we're going to make total sense of it. We're transitioning out of a really explosive year, and the landscape ahead is just packed with brand new opportunities. So let's get right into what the markets are actually telling us.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our quick roadmap for today. First, a 2025 market recap. Then, the 2026 economic transition, followed by AI's big shift into adoption, the mega IPO boom, and finally, we'll wrap up with top themes and picks.
Starting off with Section 1, 2025 Market Recap, our tech-powered year. Now, to figure out where we're going in 2026, we kind of have to look in the rearview mirror and ground ourselves on how we got here. Last year, the major indices were just absolutely dominant. Even with a tiny slump right at the end of the year, the Dow was up nearly 13%, the S&P 500 up over 16%, but the real story? The tech-heavy NASDAQ composite surging a massive 20%. The broader market had a stellar run, and that momentum was undeniably driven by tech.
And if you're wondering what the pure fuel was for that 2025 fire, it was the standout performers. I mean, think about these numbers for a second. Among the Mag 7, Alphabet soared 65%, NVIDIA jumped nearly 39%, and Tesla added 11%. But the semiconductor leaps, that's where things got really crazy. Broadcom was up 50%, and AMD and Micron posted jaw-dropping 230% gains. There's just no way around it. The AI hardware build-out did all the heavy lifting for the market's overall double-digit returns.
$623 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. That is Elon Musk's staggering net worth going into the new year, keeping him completely entrenched as the world's wealthiest person. A massive chunk of that was driven by SpaceX hitting an $800 billion valuation, plus Tesla's continued gains. Putting a number like this into perspective, it really humanizes just how astronomical the wealth generation has been at the very top. It's almost hard to wrap your head around.
All right, Section 2, the 2026 economic transition. It's time to move beyond the Fed.
Let's shift our narrative lens for a minute to the macroeconomic headwinds and tailwinds that are actively shaping the new year. 8,000. That is the highly ambitious S&P 500 target set by market expert Jay Hatfield. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth do we get there? Well, it's driven by three key factors: a dropping money supply, which historically signals a cooling of inflation, normalizing shelter costs that are finally going to show up in the CPI data, and a dropping budget deficit. Overall, it paints an incredibly bullish fundamental outlook.
But wait, it's not all smooth sailing. Listen to this powerful contrarian hook from former Medtronic CEO Bill George. He says CEOs should ignore the Fed. It's going to be a white-collar revolution. What he's getting at here is that while everyone is obsessing over exactly when interest rates are going to be cut, the real corporate focus for 2026 is going to be on a painful but ultimately transformative restructuring of white-collar overhead to drive efficiency. So to summarize these macroeconomic catalysts for 2026, we're looking at a broadly lower interest rate environment, inflation miscalculations finally normalizing to show cooler prices, and widespread deregulation opening up the capital markets. Why does this matter to us? Because these macro indicators are the literal fuel for the micro, company-level outcomes we're about to explore next.
Which brings us to Section 3, AI's next phase, adoption. We are about to witness a massive paradigm shift in the technology sector. We're pivoting from just building the infrastructure to actually integrating it. Think about it. In 2025, the whole AI story was purely about the build-out, the chips, the data centers, the hardware. But in 2026, the theme shifts dramatically to adoption. We're talking entirely new business models, major corporate efficiency drives, and actual monetization of this tech. The AI trade is fundamentally changing right before our eyes.
And honestly, here's a surprising fact that really puts all of this into perspective. Only a single-digit percentage of corporations have fully integrated AI into their operations so far. Single digits. So the crucial point here is that despite NVIDIA trading at a 26 times forward earnings valuation, we are still in the very early innings of corporate AI adoption. The runway for businesses to figure out how to actually use these tools, it's absolutely massive.
Moving into Section 4, the mega IPO boom.
Now, this perfectly connects our earlier points about lower interest rates and market deregulation directly to a highly anticipated resurgence of public offerings. Let's start with a real 1-2 punch. $1.5 trillion. That massive number represents the potential market valuation of a highly anticipated SpaceX IPO. Experts note that a giant, historic offering like this wouldn't even be on the table if overall market momentum and enthusiasm weren't incredibly strong going into the year.
And the thing is, SpaceX isn't alone. The heavyweight IPO pipeline for 2026 also includes massive AI names like OpenAI and Anthropic. This pipeline captures the incredibly dynamic energy of technological innovation right now. But more importantly, seeing these mega unicorns prepare to go public, that signals massive bullish momentum for the overall health of the capital markets.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Top Themes and Picks. It's time to transition into the actionable, micro-level strategies and stock themes that top analysts are pinpointing for 2026. First up, you have to realize that the digital AI boom has massive physical requirements, and that's creating a commodities supercycle. Gold was up 62% last year, driven by steady central bank reserves seeking safety from geopolitical uncertainty. But then look at silver, copper, and aluminum. These are critical components for the massive data center buildouts powering AI. This is a supply and demand supercycle with serious long-term legs.
Pivoting over to the consumer side, there are two major retail turnarounds you should definitely watch closely. On one side, you have Starbucks. Under CEO Brian Nichols, they're already showing positive same-store sales by focusing heavily on operational efficiency. On the other side, Target, under Michael Fedeli, is aiming to return to its historical roots of style and design after a notoriously tough year. These differing strategies are going to be a fantastic barometer for overall consumer health.
Looking across the broader market, there are distinct 2026 stock opportunities offering unique risk-reward setups that are entirely independent of the AI megatrend. We have Boeing, which is finally expecting positive free cash flow, Netflix, which analysts actually see having up to 40% upside potential just by utilizing its premium content library. Then, if we look at financials, regional banks are positioned to benefit from an upward-sloping yield curve, and alternative asset managers like KKR and Apollo look incredibly attractive right now as earlier credit fears begin to fade. Also, we literally can't map out 2026 without touching on crypto's maturation. It's a really fascinating contrarian point. Despite Bitcoin finishing the year in the red, the underlying blockchain technology is quietly becoming institutionalized. This maturation is being driven by stablecoin payments, the movement of traditional assets like stocks and bonds on-chain, the absolute explosion of prediction markets, and broad institutional adoption. The digital and traditional financial worlds, they're officially merging.
Which brings us to the biggest, most provocative question for the year ahead. Will 2026 be the year AI truly transforms business models, or is it just going to be a race for corporate efficiency? As you navigate your own learning and investments this year, keep this framed in the back of your mind. Are companies just using new tech to cut their overhead, or are they actually creating totally new, creative ways to deliver value? That answer right there is going to define the true winners of 2026. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this breakdown leaves you eager to dig even deeper.